All right, GP Football Fanatics fans, what's going on here? This is your boy James here, back with you live here on Wednesday night at 9:03 p.m. here on the East Coast. Welcome everybody for another great show. I hope everybody's had a great week so far. Hope everyone's enjoying the hump day. And for those who are in Florida this week and been living there for quite some time, and for those who are living down there and along the East Coast too, with the hurricane situation that's going on right now. I'm praying for all of you guys, and I'm hoping that you all stay safe very soon, and hopefully the storm will blow over too. But for all those who are right now going through that kind of difficulty, just know I'm praying for you guys, and I'm hoping all is the best for you, and hopefully anything gets damaged, and hope everybody's on good safety. So praying for everybody down in Florida and along the East Coast is heading up towards Charlotte and up in South Carolina. We're praying for you guys. Hopefully everything will blow over soon enough. But again, welcome for another live video. I know I was live last night for those who were able to tune in last night. I know I had quite a few people that were on last night for my week 3 recap video, and I want to say thank you for everybody who was able to tune into that. So thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you guys for those who are in right now. We have one person watching right now. Thank you for tuning in. I hope it's a great show for you guys tonight. Hopefully you guys are able to watch and learn some good things about what's coming up this week. Some good matchups, some good games to think about and watch and keep an eye out for. And for fantasy startups, if you guys are want to talk some fantasy football, obviously those are some good things. I want to be able to talk with you guys about that. So if you want to do that, that's great too. Just always reach out to me and we can go through there. But before we get started with my week 4 predictions, please just drop a like on this video, guys. I want to be able to really grow this channel. I want it to be the best YouTube channel there is around as far as football content goes in the NFL. And I just want to be able to talk with you guys about football. So please drop a like on this video if you haven't had the chance to do so already. Drop a like down below. Also, be able to comment too if you're able to. Comment on this video and tell me what you guys like, what you guys don't like, and what you would like me to do for future videos. I mean, let me tell you guys mean a lot to me, so I want to be able to enjoy. I want to be able to take in everything with what you guys have to offer for me and be able to improve and make this YouTube channel even better than it is already. So drop a like, comment. Also, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell as well, so that way the more people that I do get on this YouTube channel, the better that my views will be, and the more content that I will be providing to each and every video that I do have set up for you guys. So please just do me a favor, subscribe, like, comment, and all will be good. So thank you guys for that. So we're gonna get started with the first pick of the night. I just got to be able to find it. I had to restart my computer a little bit because it wasn't really quite connecting to uh, the internet in terms of how I go live and whatnot. So, I'm going to take a little bit to find some. It might take me a little bit to find the game that I want to be able to uh, talk about first, because I set up what I do, guys. When I go in and do these weekly picks, and when I do like my other reaction and recap videos, I like to do them in Google Slides, as you probably have seen them before. So it kind of keeps me on track of in terms of like the order of exactly what games I have planned to talk about and what I want to talk about at that time. So what's important to really talk about, and versus some that may take a little less time to talk about. But regardless, let's take a look at the first game here. We got Thursday Night Football starting up tomorrow night with the Miami Dolphins traveling to the Bengals in Cincinnati, Ohio. So the Bengals right now, from what I checked earlier this evening, they were -3. They were favored by 3 points. So there's some things to think about in this game too. So right now, both teams. So the Miami Dolphins are coming off of a nice win over Buffalo. Some people consider that a little lucky. I don't know if I quite consider it as like a lucky game for them to come off of, but it was a nice win, nice solid win for the Dolphins. They are looking like a good team that's really going to be, be a force to be reckoned with throughout the NFL this year. So they're one of the only 2 NFL teams that are still undefeated. But here's some problems with the Dolphins right now that's probably going to affect them on Thursday night if some of these players are not active. So starting with Jalen Waddle. So Jalen Waddle is questionable for this game. We're not sure. It's kind of a day-to-day situation where they're monitoring his injury and seeing like if he is ready to play, if he's going to be able to play this week. So that's something to think about too. And if he is not playing in this game, that's not that it's going to be a huge loss for them, but at the same time, they will just have that less of depth in the running game in terms of like deep passes. That's probably going to affect the passing game a little bit because without with not just Tyreek Hill, but with Jalen Waddle and his speed, also really helps make this offense and this passing game so much more electrifying and hard to stop. So that's going to be something to really keep in mind of when going into this Thursday night game here. So he's questionable for this week. We're not sure if he's actually going to play. Tyreek Hill, if he does not go in this game, then definitely for fantasy football, people who have Tyreek Hill on their fantasy, you could probably expect some big targets and some big numbers for him on Thursday night. But here's the other catch too with Jalen Waddle being injured. Tua, as we all probably saw on Sunday, is also injured. He played through that game and that win against the Buffalo Bills, but he is questionable for this week. He did injure his back, and from what Yahoo Sports is saying too, he also injured his ankle. So it's a back slash ankle injury. So he's also back-to-back limited practices to close the week. So we're not really sure if he is playing tomorrow night. If he is not playing tomorrow night, that might change the dynamic of this offense too, and that will probably mean that backup Teddy Bridgewater will need to start into his place, which realistically is not a bad idea for Teddy Bridgewater, and I like Teddy Bridgewater a lot, and is a solid backup for this team, but he's not. I don't know exactly how he's going to perform against a good pass rush of the Bengals that has been performing quite well, even with the games that have lost. So I don't really know exactly if that's going to be the best matchup game for Teddy Bridgewater if he does play in this game tomorrow night. It might be a little bit tough for him to get acclimated to this offense and Mike McDaniel and what he's going to want to do. I don't know if you can really rely on Teddy Bridgewater to make you like big aggressive plays like Tua's been making lately with Tyreek and Jalen Waddle in his lineup and their run game too with Chase Edmonds who can get open in the backfield. So those are things to definitely keep in mind of too for the Dolphins. Now on the Bengals on the other side, yes, they did come off of a nice win over the Jets, which really wasn't that all that surprising that they would bounce back and finally get a win against a team that they're expected to beat, considering that they were an AFC favorite last year. But regardless, they're coming off of a nice win. Not quite top 10 material yet, I don't think. I think they still have some things to really prove in order before I can even rank them in my top 10 again. But the Bengals do with I think the thing about the Bengals and what they can do with this defense, and this is a good Miami defense, but what I like about the Bengals offense is that they probably will take advantage of this defense, and that will be very hard for this Miami defense and their secondary to play the pass really well. Like their pass rush can get to Joe Burrow. I'm sure Joe Burrow is going to get sacked multiple times in this game, no question about it. But I think they could also take advantage really of the secondary minus Xavier Howard. Like I kind of want to see how Xavier Howard, if he's going to match up with T. Higgins or if he's going to if he's going to match up with Jamar Chase. That would be kind of interesting to see how he really does with that because Jamar Chase is just an absolute monster, as we all know, as a true number one receiver for this team. But if he isn't really the main target for this game, then you can definitely rely on players like T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd too, to be the next people up and that kind of thing. So the Bengals do have some upside to them that makes it very winnable for them to beat this game. But I think betting on 4 points for the Bengals, this is a kind of a game that I would probably avoid betting on this week. I just don't really feel confident about either team. I think either team could really win this game. But I think in terms of betting points, I think you can just pass on this game. Quite truthfully, I'm not really going to really worry about betting on this game this week because I think this is a game that can really go either way. Kind of a game. I don't really think it's a game that is too, is like one-sided. I think this game going, considering with like all the injuries that are going on with Miami's side, which is probably going to affect the outcome of this game, is something to really take in consideration. But the Bengals also are questionable too as far as their offensive line goes. As we all know, the story about their O line is completely bad, which Miami can take advantage in terms of their pass rush. But I don't know. This game could really go either way. And it's Thursday night football, so Thursday night football, when you schedule those kind of games like that, anything can really happen. So with that really all being said, long story short, I think I'm gonna take the. I think for a straight up pick, I'm going to take the Bengals to win. I think right now, because the reason why I'm taking the Bengals, and it's very likely that Teddy Bridgewater will take them in a victory for the Dolphins, but I'm taking the Bengals for this game, and the reasoning behind it is because I think Teddy Bridgewater is just way too conservative for the aggressiveness of a offense that Mike McDaniel has planned for this whole team, and the speed. I don't know if he can keep up exactly with the speed of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, if Jalen Waddle really does play too. So I think the speed makes the difference for Teddy Bridgewater, who's more of a clock manager and than he really is as an aggressive passer. So that's my logical reasoning behind it. So I think the Bengals take advantage here. I think they can take advantage of the injuries. Their pass rush will play fine. Their defense has been playing fine this year. I don't have any complaints about them, or I don't really concern about their defense too much. So I'm taking the Bengals to win this game. But I think I would avoid. I would definitely avoid betting on this game. Now I just don't think. I think 4 points is too large of a spread to even bet on, and I think there's just too much things to really think about in terms of the betting game and for the spread as well. So that's where I stand on that. All right, another game that I could see probably going either way, depending on who's playing in this game. The Vikings and the Saints. This is going to be being played in London. So what I did look up earlier this week, I did see that the station that is airing them is NFL Plus. That's going to be playing this game this week. So that's something to think about. So the Vikings and the Saints. So the Vikings are favored by 2.5 points, which I believe is probably is probably a little too much considering on how the Vikings have been playing in recent weeks. They just barely squeaked by a win against the Lions last week, which they probably could have won by a lot more, taking advantage of that dreadful secondary of the Lions, but they didn't. They struggled all throughout that game. They probably should have really lost the game, but they ended up on top. So the Vikings will have a good passing. I mean, they do have a good passing game here. They have a good offense with Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson. That's a great duo right there. Dalvin Cook is still questionable, I believe, based off of resources that I've heard today. Dalvin Cook may not be exactly ready to go, and if he's not ready to go, Alexander Mattison will take all of the touches for the run game if they do decide to run the ball a lot. Which they probably will if they don't get their passing game going, because they are playing yet another great defense from the Saints. So that's something to think about there. Adam Thielen, if the Vikings want to win this game, there's some things they really need to consider. They need to, if they can't get Justin Jefferson going in this game, they're going to have to play Adam Thielen, and they're going to have to get KJ Osborne, and they're going to have to get Alexander Mattison into the passing game for the Vikings if they want to even think about winning this game. Because I think if you shut down Justin Jefferson, which is very likely he's going to have a matchup with Marshawn Lattimore. He will probably most likely have a matchup with Marshawn Lattimore, most likely. So that will be a tough matchup for Justin Jefferson, and that's probably going to be the best matchup of the year that he's going to be well, not of the year, but so far this season. That will be the best matchup that he will be facing this year is Marshawn Lattimore. So that will be tough for him to face that. And if Marshawn Lattimore gets the best of Justin Jefferson, your next man up's got to be Adam Thielen, and it's going to have to be KJ Osborne. Whoever's the next man up, Adam Thielen, those guys are going to have to step up. And Kirk Cousins is just going to have to really start playing the football that we all know that he's able to play. So now on the Saints side, yes, they are dealing some injuries. Alvin Kamara is questionable yet again. So we don't even know if he's playing. He's been non-existent so far this season. He has not been there much for this offense or have contributed to the offense at all. Their struggles on offense begins with obviously Kamara, but Jameis Winston is just not playing very good football right now. As you all can see, he definitely looks like he's hurt right now. He is questionable to play in this week. And from a resource I heard earlier today that actually Jameis Winston actually did not practice today. So he's been dealing with some issues lately. I think it was in his backbones. I believe he broke like some bones in his back. I don't know. That's what they said. So I'm not sure if that's going to be that might be something that might affect the Saints offense for this week. But they did say also that Andy Dalton has been taking some first team snaps, which is, I guess, a good sign. I don't know. Andy Dalton really has not played a lot of good complementary football in quite a few years. So I don't know how much better or worse he's going to be than Jameis if he does play in this game. But there's a lot of questions about this offense for the Saints. Michael Thomas is also questionable too, but I think he should be playing this week with honestly no problems. I don't really have too much of a concern with him, but Chris Olave has also been playing pretty well lately. He's been really contributing and getting involved with this offense and getting them going. But there's a lot of questions about the Saints that I just don't know really much about. They just are not playing good football right now. Not as good as I thought they would have been, or at least playing like the dark horse team that I was expecting. So this is another game I probably would avoid betting this week because I think this game could go either way. This is kind of like a rivalry game that has gone back and forth between these two teams over the last few years. Even with after that whole Stephon Diggs catching that Minneapolis Miracle with a walk-off touchdown, as everybody knows and remembers, and everybody still talks about to this day. So that's something to think about right there. There's been some back and forth battles, but the Vikings have had the best of the Saints within the last few years. I think the last time these two teams faced, they actually put up a lot of points on each other. I think the Saints broke like the record for having like 6 touchdowns for Alvin Kamara in that whole game, which was absolutely incredible for them. And the Vikings put up like 31, 32 points on that team, I believe, too. So it was a high scoring game that was not really expecting to be like that. But this is it's a good matchup for both teams. It's a good competition for Kirk Cousins. It's a good competition for Justin Jefferson to really get going with like a good defense, like a really good defense. And this is a good defensive unit that the Saints do have that will give the Vikings some problems. But because of the Vikings' success in recent memories, I'm taking the Vikings to win. And if I do bet on this game, I probably wouldn't. I probably wouldn't think it would be a bad idea to take the 2.5 on the Vikings if you are betting on the spread. But also, it wouldn't be too bad of an idea if you did to plus 2.5 for the Saints too, because there is definitely a possibility that this Saints team could keep this game close and competitive, and probably if Jameis plays and he decides to play good, he could win this game. So that's why I'm not so confident in betting on this game, and I don't really want to make like the big mistake in saying bet for this team or bet for that team or whatever if I'm not comfortable with it. But I'm gonna take the Vikings to win. That's the straight up pick. But I'm going to pass on the betting part of this game, though, for this week. So give me the Vikings. All right, next up, we've got the Seattle Seahawks. They are traveling to Detroit to play the Lions. So the Lions are favored by 4.5 points, which I believe it's actually a very large spread. I was not expecting this spread to be as large as it is, but it is a pretty big spread. I don't know if I would take a big spread like that against the Lions, but would it surprise me if they won by that much? No, not at all. The Seahawks are just not really a good team. Outside of Geno Smith, who really hasn't been playing that bad of football, but they're still not a great team, if that makes any kind of sense. But the Lions are favored by 4.5. The Lions are probably going to be out with some key players on their offensive side. We'll start off with DeAndre Swift, who is very questionable and it's very unlikely that he will play this week. I don't think you'll get a chance to see him. But regardless of that, yeah, you probably won't get to see him play in this game. And even if you do see him play, he's not going to get a lot of touches. So fantasy owners, if you are keeping an eye on your fantasy team, I probably would sit DeAndre Swift this week in case of if he does not play. So that's something to keep in mind of. Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's been the main target for Jared Goff and company this year, is also very likely he will be out. He's not been ruled out yet, but he has had an ankle injury, and he did leave the game early last week, which is something that didn't look like it was a good sign for him to return for week 4, which he could return, but it's not very likely that he will return this week. And even if he doesn't, then the next part of it, if he does play in this game, he will be your best starter to play as far as your receiver end goes. But also the next man up, though, too. They're also dealing injuries with DJ Chark, too, who is also dealing with injuries. He also is very questionable this week, too. So there are some injuries to that offense. And if they all don't play, too, the Lions could have a long game against the Seahawks team. And this pass rush of Seattle that, honestly, guys, as bad as Seattle really is, they have some talent on them, and I think one of the best talent they have right now on this team is probably their pass rush. I think their pass rush is kind of underrated, and it's been kind of impressive with the last few games that they have played, especially what we saw when they played the Broncos at home. Their pass rush in terms of getting to Russell Wilson and company in Denver really was very complicated for Russell Wilson to have any success on their defense. So I give them credit there. Their pass rush has not been that bad, and if they can get the Jared Goff and get through with this offensive line, they could give Jared Goff some problems too. But Jared Goff, honestly, guys, has been playing pretty solid football as of late. He hasn't really been making a ton of mistakes. I feel like his quarterback play has changed a little bit. I think he's playing more of a role and he's contributing to this team more than he did a year ago. So that's good to really see from him. And I kind of figured if they got like a serviceable enough team around him, they could be successful. So, but regardless, though, I've been wanting to pick the Lions straight up, and I'm going to go with the Lions this week to win. It's going to be a very close game that they do win. I don't expect them to blow out the Seahawks by any means, but they've been playing. They've ever since even last year too. They've played a lot of really close games at home. They've won a few games last year at home, and they already won a home game too. So they always play very well at home. Jared Goff plays very well. This whole team overall plays very well when they're at home. So with that really being said, I'm going to take the Lions basically because they have the home field advantage that's going to help them out significantly. So I'm going to take the Lions to win. I don't know if I would bet the 4.5. I think that's a little bit too far of a spread to really bet on. But it really wouldn't surprise me too much if they do cover the spread. But I don't know if I really completely trust on that. So if you are going to bet on this game this week, think about what you're betting on. Think about the spread. Think about the reality of the football and the analytics behind it and see if that really makes the most sense to you. But I would pass on betting on this game, but the Lions are my straight up. I got to go with Detroit, guys. I have not gone with Detroit yet, really, yet this year, and I've really wanted to, but they just lose all these close games. And sometimes when they're playing really well, they're not expected to. They always play well when they're the underdog, and I want to see them do well. I think they have a good shot of winning this game. So that's why I'm taking the Lions, and I feel confident on taking that. All right, next game is the New York Jets are traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. The Steelers right now are favored by 3 points even. I'm actually kind of shocked that they are even favored by that much considering of how they played last week. I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time talking about this game. It's not really, it's kind of a game that you would think it would be one-sided, but at the same time, it's not really. And I'll explain to you why do you think that is. You might be saying, James, why are you saying it's not like a one-sided game for this game? It's obviously should be easy. It's the Steelers because of all that stuff. It's not one-sided, and I have to talk a little bit about it, but don't want to take too much time on it. But the reason why it's not because of one thing, and it's definitely the defense of the way that the Steelers have been playing on offense. Their offense has been absolutely atrocious since the start of the year. They have not been very good. Even with the Bengals game that they won, they kind of got lucky and were able to score that many points. And they got lucky at the end of that game, too, to win that game. And realistically speaking, they could be really 0-3 right now, just how bad they've been playing offensively in that case. So, yeah, I'm not big on the Steelers team. And guys, even the offensive line, too, is for the Steelers team is just not very trustful. I can't trust this offensive line of the Steelers to really do anything against this powerful Jets pass rush and the run defense that's been playing admirably lately. I know a lot of people want to bash the Jets and they want to say this and that and all the other things about the Jets, but guys, really, the Jets honestly really have not been playing as bad as people think. I don't think so. They're not a great team. They're definitely not a great team by any means. But what I've liked about this Jets team and what I admire about them is like they play to the best of their ability and they will fight for every single point that they possibly can. Joe Flacco's been kind of up and down a little bit. He had a rough week last week with Cincy's defense, which is kind of which was expected, and you wouldn't have really thought of him really having any kind of success against a good pass rush of the Bengals, and I didn't expect that, but their defense, honestly, guys, has really been playing well. That's really the strongest point of their team, their defense and their pass rush, their run defense. Like, guys, this defense, and Sauce Gardner, too, has been playing good football, lights out football. So, and even with the Steelers and their with their receivers, too, they don't really have any receivers, to be honest with you, that really scares you. And their run game is non existent. And I can see the Jets shutting down Najee Harris any given way. But the last few times I've gone with the Steelers, twice I've gone with the Steelers, and it hasn't worked out that way. But because it's not at home with the Jets, and since Heinz Field, that's a pretty hard place to play football. It's hard to win games in that stadium. But I'm not that confident. I definitely could see this game going either way. I could see the Jets definitely winning this game for sure. And if they do win, it's on defense. And also, just to keep in mind too, Zach Wilson might be starting in this game. He might be starting in this game. It hasn't really been officially said whether or not if he's going to be the starter, but there is a very good chance that he might return and be able to play in this game. And if that happens to be the case, this offense for the Jets could start exploding and start doing some big things, especially when you start seeing him and Garrett Wilson get together and they become a really strong duo. Guys, this Jets team could be, a dangerous team that could beat you on any given Sunday. So that's why I'm saying it's not a confident game for me to really truly pick like one side team, because this both of these teams are teams that match up pretty well against each other. The Jets defense especially matches up with some of the receivers quite well. I think Sauce Gardner could have a really good game against who was a Deontay Johnson or Chase Claypool, who really Chase Claypool has been non-existent. We haven't seen him really do anything crazy yet, or even George Pickens, who's had some moments here and there, and with that wild catch that he had last week against the Browns. It's an either way team. It's an either way game. But I want to go with the Jets to win this game, but I got to take the Steelers as a straight up. But I don't really want to take. I don't want to bet on this game, and the reason behind why I don't want to bet on this game is because I feel like with the Steelers and how inconsistent they've been on offense. Their offense is dreadful, for one. Mitchell Trubisky hasn't played terrible. I will say that. I know a lot of people are very critical about him and they don't trust him and they want Kenny Pickett to play. I get all that. But I think there have been times where it's been very head scratching for the decisions that he has made on the field. He's missed quite a few wide open receivers when he would either throw to the flat or he would just be conservative and just not make an aggressive play. Or even when he has made aggressive plays, he's not very accurate when he makes aggressive plays. He'll throw receivers like 20, 30, 50 yards down the field, way past sailing over their head. That's why I'm not that confident with taking the Steelers, but I'm taking the Steelers because I think their defense, especially if TJ Watt comes back. I don't think he's coming. I haven't heard anything about TJ Watt coming back, but if he does come back, that could be giving the Jets offensive line some real problems, and as well as their run game too. That's been decent in recent weeks. So I'm taking the Steelers to win. I would probably pass on betting on this game, and that's how I look onto that game. So I'll take the Steelers to win, but I'm not totally confident that this is a good straight up pick for me to take because I could also see the Jets winning too. But if the Steelers defense is very healthy and they have all their key players back, then that could make a difference on this team. But yeah, I'm not too confident on that though, but I'm taking the Steelers as a straight up, but passing on the bet. All right, next game we've got the Chicago Bears versus the New York Giants. This has been kind of a rivalry, I guess you could say in some ways. That's been like kind of back and forth for a while. Some good matchups the last few years between these two teams. The Giants are favored by 3.5 points, which is reasonable. I think that's a fair amount for the Giants to win. I think the Giants definitely have a good advantage of winning this game. I don't really like the Bears in terms of what they've been doing yet. I don't think they've played good football at all, in my honest opinion. Even when they've played at home, they're not very good. They're just not a very good team, guys. I don't know what it is, but they're just not a very good team. Bears are struggling right now offensively. They can't score any points, touchdowns, field goals, you name it. This Giants and it's away, so that also makes a big difference too for Chicago. So the Giants has been playing admirably. They've been playing up to, I guess you could say, to the expectations of the coaching staff, but they've also struggled too. In terms of like their offense, their offensive line is still very much in question and how they play. Their offensive line outside of Andrew Thomas has not been playing all that great lately, and that showed when they played the Cowboys this past Monday night too. So that's something to keep in mind of. So yeah, but also the Bears' offensive line too is also bad. But the difference is that the Giants has Saquon Barkley, the Bears have Justin Fields, and we don't even know if David Montgomery's even playing in this game because of that injury that he had last week with the Texans. He got hurt against the Texans game, so we're not even sure if he's even playing in this game or not in this game. And if he doesn't play, then Khalil Herbert is the next person up on field. And quite truthfully, I probably would. And if you had that opportunity to pick up someone like Khalil Herbert, I would definitely probably start him if he is playing this week. He played very well against the Texans, who's been struggling with the run defense this year. They've been playing really. He's been playing really well. He played really well against them last week, so that would be a good start if you could. But if you really want to get like a good run game going, I think he just looks faster. He looks more aggressive, I guess you can say in some ways. They look more aggressive. They look more in sync when he's in. David Montgomery kind of does a lot of like short stops and here and there. He doesn't really average a whole lot of yardage here and there. So, but if he's not playing in this game, Herbert is the next man on field, and he would be a pretty solid fantasy pickup if you get him this week. But also keep in mind too, this Giants team, guys, their offense has had some sparky moments where Jones has been streaky and he's been playing decent football games, and hasn't really made a whole lot of mistakes honestly yet this year. Besides like 2 interceptions that were not very good picks, obviously for him. But outside of that, he hasn't really been playing all that bad, which is surprising to some people, but also it just proves to you that coaching makes a big difference in a quarterback, and that's made a big difference for him when Brian Dable came to town and started to coach up with Daniel Jones. So that's something to think about too. The Giants defense also, guys, has really been playing pretty well. I gotta say, if anything, with the Giants, I like the run defense that they have. I think they've been playing lights out run defense. As of late, they've stopped Derrick Henry. They've limited Derrick Henry out of the question out of the game when they've played against the Titans. They've taken out Christian McCaffrey. Did not really have a whole lot of big plays. Also, to which they played well against him, and they also played well against Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott last week, which really isn't a shock with a lacking Cowboys run game, really, I guess you could say. But this Giants defense honestly really has not been playing all that bad. They're actually very underrated. I like the way they're playing run defense. They're aggressive. They get to the line of scrimmage very quickly. And once Kayvon Thibodeau, the first round picks, once he comes back into this game, once he gets back into the rhythm of playing football, once he gets back from injury, and he's a starter for their edge rusher on defense. Guys, this could be a very good, very sneaky good, underrated team, like in terms of defense, that can really stop a lot of teams. And I think with the dreadful offensive line that the Bears do have under Justin Fields, the offensive line's terrible. Darnell Mooney has not been existent. There's really no consistent pass game with Fields. He's been very not very good lately. If anything, I probably would be ranking Daniel Jones right now over Justin Fields in terms of how he's been playing. So you think about that right there too. So um, Bears could win, but I don't think it's really happening. And the reasoning behind why I don't think it's happening is because it's not in Chicago. If it was in Chicago, the Bears would probably win, but it's in New Jersey. The Giants play well. They've been playing well at home as of late. They've played home the last couple of weeks, and they've played just fine. So I'm taking the Giants to win. I picked them to win last week and go 3-0, but I think this week this is a good pick. I like the Giants. I kind of like the way they're playing. They're not the greatest team in the world, but they've been playing some good football lately that I think they deserve to be credited for what they've been doing. They're very admirable of what they've been doing. I think they're fast. They get to the line of scrimmage and they can beat you in any given way. And I trust this defense to make some good plays against a very lacking Bears team. So Giants are my pick for this week. And if you're gonna bet on this game, I would say 3.5 is definitely not a bad bet. It's a very possible bet, but that they could win by that kind of margin. But also don't expect them to also win it very close too, because the Giants always win close games. They usually don't blow a lot of people out. So, but 3.5, I would definitely take the 3.5. Absolutely. All right, next game we have another divisional game between the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts. So the Titans are a team that everyone's already expected them to really not have to not really have a great year this year, and they haven't really had a good start. But they're coming off of a nice win over the Raiders. That I picked the Raiders to win last week, and they didn't do that. They didn't get the job done. They came back and almost tied them and take them into overtime, but they didn't do that, and the Titans ended up winning. But the Titans on offense looked like the old Titans team that we all used to know and love. Derrick Henry had a good, really, really good bounce back game against a lacking defensive team of the Raiders that's been absolute garbage lately. And we'll talk about more about them in a second. But the Titans looked good last week. Ryan Tannehill limited his mistakes, and he looked pretty comfortable out there on the field. And I think he's starting to adjust a little bit now with no A.J. Brown. I think he's kind of getting used to with what he has now. I think he'll start building some chemistry with Traylon Burks or Robert Woods. I don't know. Robert Woods really isn't doing anything, but I think he's going to start getting his young guys into the lineup. Austin Hooper might start getting more involved in this offense. And if anything, if Derrick Henry can get involved in this passing game too, this could be a very tough Titans offense to really stop. But I digress. Anyway, the Colts. We're going over to the Colts. The Colts have been very streaky lately. Matt Ryan has not played his best football yet. He kind of got lucky when he beat the Chiefs last week, and the reason why they got lucky was because of some bad play calling on the Chiefs side that kind of didn't really go their way with a fake field goal. I still don't understand why you would go for a fake field goal like that if you're struggling on offense, if you're the Chiefs. But Matt Ryan really has not looked that impressive. He hasn't really looked in sync yet with this offense in Frank Reich. So I don't know how he's really going to play in this game, because I think the Titans defense, with all the injuries that are happening right now with this defense on the Titans side, with Landry being out, they also just ruled somebody out this week as well. With some of their key players on defense that's missing right now, the Titans, the Colts can take advantage of. But in terms of Matt Ryan, he's just been very streaky. He hasn't really been playing the most consistent football that he had played in years past. And I think a lot of it may be because of this offense. I don't know if he's quite gelled with this Colts offense yet to really get them going, which is a possibility. But I don't know. It's a division game. It's a game that I think is another game that you can easily pass on. I'm not really like too crazy on betting division games because I think division games are like games that could happen like either way. They can definitely happen either way. Um, Both teams right now are just not playing all that great. They're not the greatest teams in the world. Jacksonville is better than both of these teams combined right now. If I'm being honest with you, I think they're. While I think both coaches are very good, I think they just have a lot. And when I say that, I'm going to emphasize a lot again because I think a lot of these two teams have a lot of work to do and a lot of cleaning up to do before they can be considered playoff contention. So who I think really wins this game is I don't know. I don't really care for either of these teams right now. They're not really playing up to the expectations that a lot of everybody thought they would have, especially the Colts, with everybody thinking the Colts would finally take advantage of the AFC South and win it again, and the Titans were going to take a step back, which is still, very well the case for the Titans. But the Colts right now are just not playing good football, especially offensively. They're just struggling. Jonathan Taylor has not done anything yet for them. They're not getting the run game going with him. Their passing game is way inconsistent. And when you have Michael Pittman, your only good receiver on that whole team, there's problems right there awaiting. And as far as the Titans go, if your offensive line is bad, you don't really have any chemistry with any of your young receivers yet. You're also having problems there too. So you have to rely on Derrick Henry to make all these big plays for you, but you're also betting and putting all of your money based off of your defense too is also a problem. So either team could definitely win this game. I'm not confident that once I do pick my pick, I'm not going to be totally confident that it's going to be a for sure thing just because based off of the ways that both these teams are playing right now, they're not living to expectations like everybody thought. And coaches are also kind of struggling and scrapping, the best teams that they possibly can with their respective teams. But I am going to take the Titans to win this game. I would definitely avoid betting on this game, but I'm going to take the Titans to win. And if you are going to bet on this game, I would probably take +3 on the Titans. I think the Titans and the Colts have usually split games between each other. But I'm taking the Titans to take the +3 because I just feel like right now, Ryan Tannehill is not any better. I don't think he's really any better than Matt Ryan. But I would trust somewhat of the Titans defense to play just a little bit better than I do with the Colts defense. I don't know. That's just how I really see it. And if the Colts really do want to win this game, they're going to have to really get Jonathan Taylor involved, and they're going to have to really get the run game going if they want anything going for them. And Matt Ryan's going to have to start playing more consistent if they expect him to really do some big things for this Colts team. And outside of Michael Pittman, let's start getting some other receivers involved, please. Get Jonathan Taylor, even if you have to throw in the backfield. Get him involved. Nyheim Hines has been doing some things in the backfield, but let's start getting some people involved, though, if you want to win. But I'm taking the Titans to win this first matchup. And if you're going to bet on this game, I would probably take the +3 on the Titans or -3 with the Colts. So that's how I look on it. I don't really think this game is really going to be anything worth watching, but I'll have to watch the highlights just because, I might want to talk about it for next week's recap video. All right, next game, the Chargers are favored by 5.5 over the Houston Texans. They are playing in Houston yet again. So the Chargers got shellacked. And when I say shellacked, they really were shellacked by the Jags last week. And there's no discrediting Jacksonville whatsoever in that. They played a very fine game. But the Texans also are not the greatest team in the world. There have been some flashes, and I do give the Texans some credit. There has been some flashes of playing pretty decent defense. No shot whatsoever that they've been playing anything good as far as their run defense. They give up so much yardage when on the ground, but their pass rush and their secondary really has not been playing all that bad. And with an injury-ridden team of the Chargers, who's already got Joey Bosa, who's already on the IR, as it was announced today for them. J.C. Jackson, who's still on the injury list, and we don't know when he's really coming back. Justin Herbert not being exactly healthy for this team, and he's going to be questionable to play this week. Keenan Allen, who's still out, who's also questionable, but he could be out another week too. He's already been out for 2 weeks. That's also questionable too. Some key pieces to the offensive line, I believe, was also injured too. There's a lot of injuries to this Chargers team right now that makes this game a lot closer than it really should be. If anything, if and when healthy, the Chargers should blow out the Texans by a lot, and their pass defense should get to Davis Mills. But there's so many injuries, guys, for this Chargers team that makes it very difficult to take the spread of 5.5. It really makes it very difficult. And just seeing them how they got beat up by Jacksonville last week, why should I believe that they're going to cover 5.5 points against the Texans? Why should I take that? Like, why should I bet on this game for that spread to 5.5? And especially if Justin Herbert does not play. If Justin Herbert does not play, it's a guaranteed loss already for the Chargers. And that would not be very good for the Chargers. If they lose this game, they lose a third straight game in a row. And it's based off because of injuries. Guys, this Chargers team is so good. But when they're not healthy, this is when we're seeing them play not good football at all. Because they're injured. So, a game I would probably take the Texans. If, in my opinion, if they're going to play the way that they played last week against Jacksonville, I'm going to take the Texans. And we're just going to think that Justin Herbert may not play, which is a very good possibility. And if their pass rush can't get to Davis Mills, they can't get past to this offensive line of the Texans, there's no way the Chargers can beat this team. No way. And with all these injuries, if Keenan Allen doesn't come back either, that's also hurting them bad. But what they should do, if they want to win this game and they want to play conservative, give the ball to Austin Eckler. I don't know where Austin Eckler has been. The guy's an elite running back. He's a stud. Guys, Austin Eckler is a beast. He's an elite running back. We got to start using him. They got to start using him. So, I don't know. I would take the Texans. That's going to be my straight up pick for this week. I'm taking the Texans to win this game and what can be considered an upset. But I just wouldn't take that kind of a spread considering with all the injuries that the Chargers do have, though. And it's a shame because I like what the Chargers have been doing. I like what they've done in the offseason. They should be the overall favorite in the AFC West. But right now with all the injuries, it's very hard to really even pick them to win this game after being beat up to Jacksonville. Again, that's no disrespect whatsoever to Jacksonville. They're a very fine team in their own right. But if they got beat up by the Jags last week the way that they did, then I can't see this team, this injured team, and Justin Herbert playing well against the Texans. That's how I look at it. So I'm taking the Texans, but I would probably bet on the over-under on this one. I would probably definitely avoid the spread of the game, and I would just probably take the over-under on this game because I just don't think 5.5 points is a lot of points. That's a lot of points to bet on. So moving on from that one. Next, we've got the Cleveland Browns, who are favored by 1.5 points to the Atlanta Falcons, and they're traveling to Atlanta to play the Falcons, and they're favored in this game. So the Falcons, I've talked a little bit about them last night on my show with the reaction and the recap video of the Falcons, and the Falcons match up, I believe, quite well, quite truthfully, with this Browns team in the defense. Myles Garrett, he wasn't in an accident this week, so we're not sure if he is ready to go or if he's going to be playing this week in this game. He's still a very big question mark. We'll see if he does play. And if he does play, it might help out the pass rush a little bit for the Browns. But if he does not play, I could see this being a long game for them. And even with Jadeveon Clowney, too, who I believe is also still injured, too, as well. I think the Falcons can take advantage of those aspects of those key players on the defensive side for the Browns and take advantage of them. I could definitely see that happening. I could see Marcus Mariota having another good game. Marcus Mariota, guys, he's playing under the radar. He's playing some pretty good football lately with a team that's not the greatest team on earth. They're not the fastest team. They're not the greatest team of all time, but they're a very fun team to watch. They're a team that could beat you in almost any given way, except for defense, of course. They always choke when they have double-digit leads. Besides last week, they didn't. But this Falcons team could win this game. Definitely, absolutely, 100%. Because Jacoby Brissett does tend to play pretty bad when he is considered as a favorite. So that's something to keep in mind of. But the Browns offensively is also very good and should be very a force to be reckoned with too. I think the Browns offense has been playing, Jacoby Brissett has been playing some fair football lately. He's getting Amari Cooper involved in the passing game, which is something that the Browns definitely want, especially when now they have Deshaun Watson. And when he does come back later on this season, he'll get acclimated and he'll get ready and he'll be a good target for Deshaun Watson, and he can rely on him for making some big plays in the passing game. Because outside of him, there's not a whole lot of good receivers out there that's considered, like, as far as Amari Cooper talent wise, something to consider. But also they also have good running backs too in Nick Chubb. They can also definitely run on this Falcons defense that's been very, very bad against the run for a very long time, for years. So Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt could have a really good game against a bad run defense against with the Falcons. But also, guys, the Falcons, where they are the strongest in, is their secondary. Their secondary has been playing pretty well for the most part. I think they play good football on the secondary side, but they don't have really a consistent pass rush that really scares you. You can also run all over this defense too. So there's definitely things you can take advantage of on that aspect. But also the Browns are also very overrated on the defense. I don't think their defense is anywhere near as good as the paper sounds, as the paper or the cookie crumbles. It's not really anything special or to write home about that the Falcons can definitely take advantage of. And they've already taken advantage of some good defenses of the Saints and the Rams. So they've taken advantage already of some good defenses and some good pass rushes. So I don't see this game being a blowout. I don't see this game really being like one-sided or like one team that's really heavily favored. So this game could really go either way. I wasn't really thinking the Browns would already start 2-1 already this early in the season. I would have probably picked them. I kind of picked them to lose a couple of games already. I thought they would have been like 1-2 at the worst. But I'm taking the Browns to win this game. But the reason why I take them, and I'm not like completely sold on this, the reason why I'm taking the Browns on this game is for a couple of reasons. One, because I think their run game can definitely is the vocal point of their offense that they can definitely take advantage of. And knowing that this Falcons defense in the run game is extremely awful, and their pass rush very inconsistent. There's some things that Kobe Brissett can do that when he is a favorite in this game, he'll make it a close game that he can take advantage of in that aspect. But there are also some parts too where Mariota will make some mistakes, probably, very likely. We'll see what happens. Where he could throw an interception or he could fumble the ball, very likely. So, but regardless, I would take the Browns to win. I'll take the Browns to win this game. And I could see them covering the spread, but again, I'm not completely confident with that. They could cover the spread, but it wouldn't be a bad idea either if you took the plus 1.5 for the Falcons. So it'll be a good game. I think this will be a fun game to watch with both teams, trying to prove themselves and seeing where they are right now. And with the Browns, they're kind of getting like some good warm up stuff going on right now before Watson comes back. So the Browns are they're gelling together quite well, and I think they're getting used to the fact that Watson is not going to be there, and they got to start playing good football. So that's why I take the Browns to win this game, and they can definitely take advantage of that. As far as the betting goes, the 1.5 wouldn't be a bad idea to bet for the Browns, but the plus 1.5 also wouldn't be a bad idea either. So you pick your poison there. All right, next game we've got a divisional game here with the NFC East. And it's the Washington Commanders who are traveling to Dallas to play, I'm going to say Jerry Jones, because Jerry Jones practically is everything that this Cowboys team needs. And with the Cowboys, the Commanders and the Cowboys. There you go. All right, so the Cowboys are favored by 3. Make it short, sweet, and to the point. Commanders been playing bad football. Defense has been atrocious. Very disappointed in their defense. Carson Wentz got sacked 9 times last week against a very good pass rush of the Eagles that's been playing very, very solid lately. Very good defense lately. So that's something to think about. And I can definitely see the Cowboys sacking Carson Wentz another 9 times. This pass rush for the Cowboys, I believe, is keeping them in most games, and they've been playing very, very well. Even with games that they've lost already, guys, with the Bucks, they lost that game to the Bucks. They really didn't have to lose that game. Honestly, they probably could have beaten them if their offense would have gotten going, but their pass rush is playing very well. I think this pass rush could be right now. I would say the pass rush of the Cowboys, Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. I would say this is probably almost very at the cusp of top 5 material of the defense. That's how good that this Cowboys defense is, and they don't get a lot of credit that I believe they deserve in that aspect. And Cooper Rush has been playing admirable. He's been doing just enough to squeak some wins for the Cowboys to win. Now, I did hear some rumors. Cowboys fans, that it could be possible. We'll see if it happens, but it could be possible that Dak Prescott could make an appearance and come back this week. I don't see it. I personally don't think he's going to come back this week. He might still be out there, saying kind of like maybe a week 6 is a realistic return date, which I would probably say is more realistic for him to return back to week 6. But there's really no need to rush Dak back into the game. I think Cooper Rush is just playing fine. I think McCarthy, and as much as I think McCarthy is not the greatest coach in the world, I think he's been coaching to the standards of how good the Cowboys really are, and I think he's using Cooper Rush to do some things, admirably, being conservative, being a good clock manager, and just throwing the ball away when he really needs to. I think he's been playing admirable. He's fine. There's no reason to rush Dak back into the game, but I still think the Cowboys win this game. Absolutely, and I would definitely take the 3.5, the 3 points for them to win this game. I just don't see what the Commanders are doing. Like, I just don't understand this Commanders team right now. After 3 weeks, I don't understand where this team is heading right now, and they're not heading into the right direction. So that's why I'm not confident with really picking them as a straight up or to bet on. I'm sorry. Guys. I know I don't like the Cowboys. I'm not a big Cowboys fan either. But you got to give credit to where the Cowboys deserve the credit. They're playing admirable. They're playing fine now. After that loss to the Bucks is when they started to, come back to where Cowboys usually do play. Their defense. That's where they heavily rely on them. So that's why I got to take the Cowboys to win. And they should cover the spread easily. There's no doubt about it. If they get blown out by the Eagles the way that they did, there should be no reason why the Cowboys don't win this game too heavily large. So I'll take the Cowboys. I'll take the 3 points. See how them boys do. All right, another game I really like. I like this matchup a lot. But here's the thing. I don't understand why the Eagles are favored by 6.5 points to Jacksonville. After Jacksonville completely shellacked the Chargers. Granted, they're injured, obviously. Yes, the Chargers are injured right now. But I don't get how that makes the Eagles anything better for them to win by 6.5 points. I just don't understand that whatsoever. I would not worry about betting the 6.5. I just think that's just absolutely ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, the Eagles have been playing good football. I do give them credit where credit is due. They are playing good football. Yes, they are. Jalen Hurts is playing absolutely out of his mind. That pass rush of the defense with Darius Slay and all those other guys, Fletcher Cox, they're playing good football. I like the way that the Eagles are playing football. They're very aggressive. They're playing tough. They're not letting up on any team. They're very good in the red zone. Guys, I'm not saying that the Eagles are bad. They're not bad whatsoever. They've been playing well. I will give them that. But give Jacksonville credit, guys. Give Jacksonville credit. They're winning games too. Hold on, I'm going to take a sip of water real quick. Sorry, my throat's getting a little dry, so I need to get some water in me. But Jacksonville's playing fine football, though, too. I like what Jacksonville's doing. They're aggressive. Their defense is doing well. Doug Peterson is doing a fine job getting this team back on track into the winning mentality because Urban Meyer was just an absolute train wreck that couldn't get them to the promised land or couldn't get them to a playoff win whatsoever, or they couldn't even get them a win outside of the division. Yeah, they beat the Bills. Okay, they beat one good team. Who else did they beat outside of that last year? They're playing well under Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson deserves a lot of credit for the way the Jags is playing right now. They're playing absolutely beautiful football for the most part. I think there's really not a ton of holes in Jacksonville that's really quite concerning right now. I think the biggest problem with the Jags, and I thought took advantage of it well, they're lacking in the line aspect on offense, but Trevor Lawrence was not sacked once last week against the Chargers. He was not sacked once, and that's probably the first time in his whole NFL career where he has not been sacked. That's impressive, and you know, so why would I take the Eagles to be winning? But why would I take the Eagles 6.5? Why would I take them 6.5? There's no reason for it. I don't see any reason for them to be favored by that much. Do I see either team winning these games? Could I see the Eagles winning that big of a margin? Yeah, probably, very likely, yes. But I wouldn't bet on that spread. I just think it's just too large. It's too large to bet on, and they haven't really played. Besides the Vikings, they haven't really played a defense that's really going to be challenging to them or test them to the best potential that they could be. So the Jacksonville defense and their pass rush, their secondary, guys, the Jacksonville defense is very underrated. Very underrated. They're playing nicely. They've already gotten to the Colts. They shut out the Colts already. They've averaged 10 points to the Chargers last week and Justin Herbert and turned them over a few times. Or turn over that offense at least. So there's things that they are doing that's going very, very well, guys. That's going very well for them. They're playing good football on both sides. So, but the Eagles are playing well too. But this is going to be the best defense, I believe, in my own opinion. It's the best defense that the Eagles are going to be facing early this season. I don't know how else to word it, guys. I don't know how else to word it. Either one of these teams could win, but I just think the margin is just too large. It could be a very sneaky good best game of the week, in my opinion. It could be the best game of the week. That's how sneaky good that these two teams are being right now. But with Doug Peterson, take this into consideration too. Ready? Doug Peterson coached the Eagles at one point. We all know this. He won a Super Bowl with them. We all know that already. So he will very likely know a lot of the team's weaknesses that they do have, and he will be ready to coach against them and probably be able to find ways to be able to beat them and take advantage of the weaknesses. And I think where like the weaknesses that they'll probably start off with, and I think where they'll probably start off with is probably going to be the run game. Yes, the Eagles' run game or the run game is definitely getting better, but their run defense, I meant to say, I apologize for that. Their run defense had played fine last week, but the Jacksonville's run game also is very good too and underrated for sure. James Robinson is an underrated running back that's been playing well and quite truthfully is getting more touches, and that's absolutely rightfully, so he should be getting more reps than Travis Etienne or any of those other running backs that they wanted to try to push away from James Robinson. James Robinson gets the run game going, guys. He could take advantage of this Eagles defense. He could take advantage of the run defense, no question about it. So, where am I going with this game? Who am I going to pick? Who's my overall pick for this game? I don't know. I think it's very tough to really pick. I got to really think about it more. But it's a tough one. It's really tough. I mean, I just don't know. I think this team goes either way. I could see this game going either way, for sure. Definitely could see it going either way. Absolutely. But it's hard to really pick which team I think will win. But if I had to pick one, if I was threatened to pick one right now, who would it be? I probably You know what? I'm probably going to pass on this game right now, and I will come back to it because I don't want to get myself worked up on this game. And I'll come back to it when I talk about this next game here. The Bills and the Ravens. I'm going to talk about this game a little bit, and I'll talk about why I think this game will be favored towards this game. So the Bills are favored by 3. Okay? So that's reasonable. Very reasonable. The Bills, best team in the AFC right now, but they're dealing with injuries right now in terms of their defense. Their secondary's got issues right now. Micah Hyde is already going to be out for the rest of the season, so that hurts a lot. Tre'Davious White hasn't been scheduled yet to play, so he's still out. Jordan Poyer, he's questionable. We don't know if he's playing right now. We don't know if he's going to come back or not. A lot of the things for the Bills right now, and they're dealing with right now, guys, the Bills are dealing with some injuries on that defense that I believe the Ravens could take advantage of. Now, on the defensive side for the Ravens, has been extremely overrated. The defense on the Ravens side, especially secondary, has been extremely overrated. But what makes the Ravens still so good? Well, the reason why the Ravens are still good and why they're still not going to be out of the race for this game is because of one person, and one person only, and that's Lamar Jackson. Despite not having a good receiver on his team, Devin Duvernay has probably been doing well, but outside of him or Mark Andrews per se, this team really is nothing. If I'm being honest. If I'm being completely honest, this team is really honestly not all that great outside of Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews. They're really not. Devin Duvernay can make you some plays, and I think Rashad Bateman is just overrated. I don't think he's playing anything or doing anything special for this team. And the running backs all of them are hurt right now, and they're not really up to par yet of where they're going to be. But Lamar Jackson makes the team happen. They can take advantage of a very injured prone of the Bills right now. They could take advantage of their defense for sure. And Lamar Jackson's been playing good football. He's been playing absolutely fine. I don't care what anybody says, regardless of what's going on right now, what I've said about the Ravens in the past. I will admit right now, Lamar is playing very good football given with the team that he's got. So that's something I could say right there. But I don't know. It's a tough game. But you look at the Bills side of things, Josh Allen could absolutely also have a field day too. I could see this game being like a really high scoring game. Like it could be very similar to the Miami and Baltimore game that happened a couple of weeks ago. That's how high of a scoring game that I could definitely see this game end up being because of just both sides where like both offenses are very explosive and can beat you in the passing game for sure, and they could take advantage of injuries and blown coverages that happen left and right. So those are things to think about. So yeah, it's a tough game to really pick between the two teams, and I don't really. And you know what it is? The rule of thumb is you never really want to bet against the Ravens. And I've bet for the Ravens before when they played Miami and they lost that game. You don't really ever want to bet against the Ravens. That's what the bottom line view has told me before. If you're going to bet on a Ravens game, never bet really against them because the Ravens can beat you at any given moment in any given way. But it's also true that the Bills could also win right now. Josh Allen is playing the best football of his career, obviously. He's carrying his team on his back. The only concern that I do have with the Bills and the Ravens too is that their run game is non-existent. We're not seeing really a consistent run game going on either side, on either team. So that definitely hurts a lot too. So again, it's another game that's hard to pick. But I could definitely see the Ravens taking advantage of the Bills' secondary. But I think at the end of the day, I just don't like this Ravens defense right now and how they're playing. I think they're just extremely overrated. Defensive coordinator, I don't know what in the world he's doing right now with this Ravens defense. But I'm taking my man Josh Allen, Sean McDermott, Stephon Diggs. I'm taking the Bills to win this game. I'm taking them to win this game. Possibly -3. I could take them covering 3 points, but I can never bet against the Ravens, if that makes sense. I can never bet against the Ravens. But my straight up pick is the Bills, for sure. I could see the Bills definitely being able to take advantage. I could see Josh Allen taking advantage of a very overrated defense and breaking so many coverages of the Ravens defense that, that's going to be absolutely crazy. So expect this game to really be high scoring. I might even take a look at this game and see how much I want to put on this game for this week, because I could definitely see this game going absolutely bonkers, and I could definitely see this game going crazy, absolutely crazy. So I'll take the Bills to win this game. But I'm not sure if I would take the spread of 3. I would probably either take the -3 for the Bills or the +3 for the Ravens. That's my best bet on this game. Or actually, what would be even better is to bet the over/under. If you don't feel confident about either team covering the spread, guys, do the over/under. That will help you, and that could definitely take you to a long way. Just really quick too, I'm gonna go back to the Jags and Eagles game for a second. I'm not gonna show the graphic up again, but I decided who I'm gonna take to that game. I'm going to take the Jags. I'm going to take the Jags for the upset. I think what they're playing right now, I like the way that Trevor Lawrence is doing, but the Eagles have to come back down to earth eventually. I just don't see this Eagles team being 4-0. I don't see them being the last team in the NFL being undefeated. Very well likely could be. They very well could likely be the last team that ends up being the last undefeated team in the league. Absolutely. But I'm not going to really bet any money on that. But I'm taking the Jags to win. I think they take the slight upset over the Eagles. But I would probably avoid the spread, or maybe wait until later on in the week and see if the spread lowers. And if it doesn't lower down, then probably bet what would I say? Would it be the money line or the over/under? The bet on. That's something that you'll have to really think about for on your own time. But it's another game I probably would say just pass on that game for in terms of betting wise. All right, we don't really have all that many games left, so that's good. I believe we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we only have about 5 games left, so that's good. We're definitely not nearly going as long as I usually do. So that's kind of good for me, and that's good for you guys. So thank you for everybody that's tuning in and holding in. You guys are doing such a great job with doing that. So keep up the good work. Next, we're doing the Cardinals, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Panthers. And the Panthers are favored by 1.5. So another game that can absolutely, positively could go either way. So the Panthers are coming off of a very nice win over the Saints. They're coming off of a nice win over the Saints. So I will admit that the Panthers guys are really not as bad of a team as people are discrediting them for being as bad as they're saying they are. They're not really that bad of a team. They just have gotten, I believe, unlucky quite a few times. I think their defense has been fine. I believe Baker Mayfield is not playing as bad a football as people want to make him out to be. Yeah, he's not the greatest person. He's not the greatest person. I like Baker, but he's not the greatest quarterback in this world. He's probably like in the lower tier of quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks right now in this league for sure. But I don't think he's playing that bad of football. I think with the talent, I think what it is really, what makes him really struggle is not so much him, but I think when you go from Cleveland to a team that didn't really want to keep you and trade you up for a guy for $230 million on a 5-year contract and having over 20 sexual assault cases against him, they'd rather do that instead of keeping a quarterback that they drafted overall as the number 1 overall in 2018. That's their loss right there. But there's definitely talent in Baker, and we've seen him definitely succeed in a lot of games in years past with the Browns, but also had some really down games too. And we've seen him, I haven't really seen him really honestly have a really down game with the Panthers yet. Yeah, I don't think his stats are that impressive, but when you watch the games, he really doesn't play all that bad. And you could just tell with this offense that Matt Rule has and Ben McAdoo, who's just an absolutely awful offensive coordinator for this team. And Matt Rule is just not the guy that's really cutting it or really helping Baker to succeed to the expectations that he's expecting him to be. I mean, there's definitely things you can think about in this game for Baker. But what the Panthers do have, and they've been playing well, and I would like to see them get more credit, is the way they've been playing defense. Their defensive line is extremely underrated. They can get some good pass rush going in certain parts of the game. They can stop you in the run. Their secondary is slacking, a little lacking at times when they don't really play consistent in terms of secondary. But I think pass rush, they can get to the quarterback on any given way. And I think they could do well on the run game, too. I think they could stop the run game fairly well. But now let's take a look at the Cardinals. The Cardinals, outside of J.J. Watt and Budda Baker for defense, they don't have anybody else. Their defense is probably at least 30th ranked in the NFL right now. That's how bad they are on defense. But their offense also kind of makes up for it too. Kyler Murray is the road runner. Beep beep. He's the road runner for this team. Right now he's out with DeAndre Hopkins, so we're not really seeing him be explosive in the passing game as a passer than we've seen with DeAndre Hopkins in years past. But once DeAndre Hopkins does come back, which is going to be a little bit while yet before he does, the Cardinals could change their team around and they could be better. They could be absolutely better. But the Panthers have owned the Cardinals the last few years. Even when they've played in Arizona, they've owned them the last couple of years. They've beaten them on the last second field goal, I think, one year. And then last year, they absolutely destroyed them with Cam Newton being back, Sam Darnold being out with an injury, and P.J. Walker just doing what P.J. Walker does. Not very good football by any means. But I'm taking the Panthers to win. I would take them to cover the 1.5 because I like what the Panthers have to offer. They do have talent around them, guys. They absolutely positively have talent around them. But what makes the biggest difference for this team in terms of why they're not playing up to expectations or why they're not playing well, it's coaching. It's absolutely coaching. If you watch the games, you watch the play calls, you watch how bad the offensive line is. Like, guys, they want to make it seem like that it's always the quarterback's fault, and that's why they are always going for a new quarterback every year. And that's not how it should be. That's not how it should be at all. So I would take the Panthers. I'm going to take them as my straight up pick, and I could definitely see them covering the spread at 1.5. That's how I see it for that game. So go Carolina, go Panthers, go Baker, go McCaffrey. You got it. All right, next game. We've got the Denver Broncos. All right, they're traveling to the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders team who is favored by 2.5 points. So surprisingly, shortly before I started live streaming, I watched the NFL picks of who they pick each week. They usually do them around Wednesday afternoon, so that way they kind of get them out of the way. And these are like pre-made videos by some guy that has like a voiceover, and they show video clips and they talk about like statistics of what happened in last week's game or how they've been doing so far in the season, and just comparing and contrasting both teams in terms of how matchups really go. And at the end of the video, and I gotta say, at the end of the video, they show you like all the picks, like who everybody picks for the week. And I gotta say, besides one person, everybody picked the Raiders to win. And I'm going with the Raiders. I'm following that trend. I'm going with the Raiders. They've got to win this game. I want to see them win. They've got to win this game. And they have a great opportunity to take advantage of Denver at home to beat the Broncos. They absolutely, positively do have that advantage. Now, why am I saying that? Well, there's a lot of reasons why I'm saying that. Right now, we all know Denver is struggling. Defense, playing just fine. Secondary is great. Pass rush is great. Run defense, little lacking. Not completely, sold on their run defense because they did give up some big plays to Jeff Wilson last week. But they're playing very good defense. But their offense is an absolute mess right now. Russell Wilson's just not playing up to expectations of what everybody thought they would play. And Nathaniel Hackett's just not a very good coach. I don't know what's up with him. I don't understand why they would have him play, be able to coach for this team. So they're definitely struggling, and they're struggling with getting used to each other. So, and outside of Cortland Sutton, I don't think Russell Wilson he does not feel comfortable with this offense or playing with this team. He does not feel very comfortable. He looks very out of sorts when he's out there on the field. And I think a lot of it is just because I think he is so used to playing in Seattle's offense. I think he's just so used to being like his own Russell Wilson self when he was in Seattle and playing with Seattle in terms of doing like his own thing. And now that he's not really doing his own thing, there's like, I don't understand it. I just don't get the Broncos right now. However, on the Raiders side, what really concerns me the most about the Raiders is obviously their defense. Their defense is just hot garbage. I'm sorry. I have to say it, but their defense is absolutely positively hot garbage right now. Outside of Max Crosby, who do you really have? Or Chandler Jones. Who else do you really have on that defense? Chandler Jones really hasn't been playing all that great either. But there's outside of Max Crosby, who else do you really go to as like your big guy, your next big guy on your defense? Nobody. There's really nobody on that defense that's scary, and they don't scare you with anything. They can't stop a pass. They can't stop a run. They can't stop anybody on third downs. Like, yeah, this Raiders defense is bad, very bad. But what they do have success in is their offense. Their offensive line has been very subpar lately. But they played very well against the Titans pass rush, which was a little bit surprising because of how strong the Titans pass rush is, how strong they really are. I'm surprised that their offensive line was able to hold for them as much as they were throughout the game. So that's something to consider right there. But Derek Carr really has not been playing all that bad either. I know everybody wants to trash Derek Carr and say, yeah, he's the worst quarterback right now in this league. He's 0-3. Why is he 0-3? Like, this guy should be benched for whoever else they have or be traded away. It's time to let him go. No, guys, Derek Carr really has not been playing bad. It's not his fault that he's lost some games. But I will say about Derek Carr, if there's only one thing I do blame Derek Carr for, is he is missing open receivers that he should be throwing the balls to. So I do blame him for that, for sure. But other than that, Derek Carr, besides like interceptions and turnovers, like that's already expected from a quarterback. You don't really expect someone like him to have a perfect game. But he's really not playing all that bad. But I think him and Devontae Adams need to start getting a chemistry built in together back when they were in college. Like they had a strong connection then. I think they need to get themselves back into the swing of things with that. But they do have a good passing game that I think they can get taken advantage of. Josh Jacobs as their running back too could also make some big plays too on this defense for the against the Broncos. But also what I really do like, and that really did spark up some really good things last week, is Matt Collins. Matt Collins, excuse me, who was filling in for Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow was out last week, and he's still questionable to come back for this week. But yeah, I think this Raiders team is going to be fine. It is worrisome that they are 0-3, that they haven't won a game yet. So it is a little worrisome for me. But I think they're going to bounce back and win this division game. They have to. They will start taking advantage. I think now they can start taking advantage with a lacking Broncos offense that's very sluggish, very slow. They don't get right to a fast start. And not that the Raiders get to a fast start either, but I trust right now with the offense that the Raiders do have outside of offensive line. I trust them more than I trust Nathaniel Hackett and what he has planned for this offense for Denver. So I'm taking the Raiders. If they don't win this game, I'm done taking the Raiders. That will be my deal. Not really, but I'm just saying, if they do not win this game, I'm done picking them for a while until they start winning some games. All right? So, take the Raiders. But I can't confidently say that they're going to cover the spread. So, that's something that's going to be worth some research over. All right, next game that's probably not going to take that much longer to really talk about, but we'll see. So we've got the New England Patriots, a very banged up New England Patriots, going to Lambeau Field in Cheesehead, Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin, to face Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Packers are favored by 9.5. Absolutely, positively, not a shocker there that they're favored by that much. Now, when spreads are big like this, I would normally say I probably would avoid it. But I'm going to tell you why I'm going to say bet the 9.5 for Green Bay. I'm going to tell you why. Who's the starting quarterback? Think about who the starting quarterback is going to be for New England this week. I'm pretty sure they announced it today, or at least they had a press conference about it. So who do you think their starting quarterback is going to be for this week? Because Mac Jones is probably going to miss a lot of time. He's going to miss at least multiple weeks. So who do you think is going to be the starting quarterback for this team? Not anybody that I would have liked to see the Patriots pick up on. But who do you think they're starting? Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer is not good by any means. And with a struggling offense that the Patriots have to begin with all the injuries that they're having right now, that's why I'm saying Green Bay 9.5. Take it with a grain of salt. Take that coverage. Because the Patriots right now, guys, if they do not get a solid backup quarterback, like during the whole time span that Mac Jones is out, the Patriots won't make the playoffs. I'm just laying that out there right now. They will not make the playoffs unless they get a serviceable backup quarterback that's available. Like Cam Newton will be available. He still is available that they could call up for sure. But yeah, that's all I got to really say on that. I mean, that's all I got to say on that game. I think Green Bay takes advantage of that game. I say take the 9.5. I would be aggressive. I would take 9.5 on Green Bay. Absolutely. Aaron Rodgers can take advantage of that. He can take advantage of a defense of the Bills that's normally good, but won't be good enough to hold up against Aaron Rodgers. I think he'll have a good field day. He'll get some of his new receivers acclimated into the offense. He'll get some things going. I think he'll start going hot. Aaron Jones will have a good game. A.J. Dillon will split some time too in the backfield. I like the way that the Packers, match up well with this Patriots team that I think they can take advantage of, and they should be able to take advantage of. And now that Mac Jones is out of the question for this week at least, that's going to be something that will be really good to think about. So I'm taking Green Bay. And I would definitely take them to cover 9.5 for sure. All right, we're down to 2 games left. So next we've got the Kansas City Chiefs traveling to none other than the GOAT, the legendary Tom Brady, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football. So the Chiefs are favored by 1.5, which is a little bit surprising. I wasn't expecting them. Earlier in the week, I thought the Bucs would have been favored by that margin, but they're not, which is, nothing wrong with that. I'm not that surprised that the Chiefs are favored either, but both teams are both coming off with losses last week that they probably could have won. Chiefs are coming off of a shocking loss to the Colts, and the Bucs are coming off of a loss against the Packers, which really isn't nearly as shocking as the Colts beating the Chiefs, but I don't know. But anyway, 2 great quarterbacks going at it. I believe Mike Evans should be back in this game. He was suspended last week, so he should be back for this game. Chris Godwin, there was some talk that Chris Godwin would come back, but I don't see that happening. I think he might be out for one more week, and this week will be the last week he'll be out before he does come back. So, but Russell Gage should be playing in this game. Julio Jones might be coming back. I'm not sure yet about him. He might be coming back in this game. And then as far as the Chiefs offense, also, I don't really know much about the Chiefs offense. I haven't really, if I'm being honest with you, I haven't really seen the Chiefs really play a lot of football I haven't really seen them play a lot of football yet this season because they just don't air in my area. So that's why I don't see them really play as much. But the games that they have played, yes, they did beat up on the Cardinals, which really wasn't that shocking. But the one game I did kind of hear them play and I did watch highlights on, which was when they played the Chargers. Patrick Mahomes, it does what all Patrick Mahomes does, but their offense is also not really any better. In fact, I think it's worse than the Bucs. I think they're worse off than the Bucs. because I just don't think without Tyreek Hill, it's hard to find a deep threat after trading up for trading away Tyreek Hill. I think it's very complicated to find like a true receiver like that can do a deep threat. And I think with the Bucks defense and how strong they've been at least guys, the Bucks defense right now has to be at least close to number 1, if not number 2 in this league. Their defense is playing lights out, man. Run defense, you can't even run on this team. That's how crazy good they are. Secondary is absolutely unbelievable. And I think they can take advantage. I think they can take advantage of the Chiefs. 100%. Definitely can take advantage of the Chiefs. So that's why I'm taking the Bucks to win this game. Plus 1.5. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to bet on this game. So just a quick thing, guys. I don't bet on all of these games. I only bet on games that I like for the week, that I think are good matchups, that I think are most likely for them to either cover the spread, what I think is the best money line, or the over-under. I'm still learning about parlays and seeing like how all that goes. But yeah, the Bucks, I think, win this game because of one reason: Tom Brady. Yes, Tom Brady got off his high horse last week against a defense of Green Bay that deserves credit. Does deserve credit for the way they played last week, for sure. And the pass rush for the Chiefs really isn't bad, but they're not that consistent either. And I think they're going to have a hard time getting to Tom Brady and pressuring him to the advantage that they would want to. And I think just with the struggles with the Chiefs right now offensively, and it's not really just really Patrick Mahomes. I don't blame Patrick Mahomes for their offensive struggles, but I think with a good, an electrifying defense, a run defense, pass rush, secondary, you name it, it's going to be very hard for Patrick Mahomes to really do his Mahomes magic that he normally does. And especially outside of Travis Kelce, like, who else are any of these other receivers for Kansas City going to be able to match up with? Who else are they going to match up with? Like, seriously. That's something to really think about there. And it's prime time, too. So that's also makes a difference, too, in Tampa Bay. Home field advantage for Tom Brady. He does well at home. So I'm taking the Bucks to win this game, and I would take the plus 1.5 for the Bucks to win. I like the way the Bucks are playing defense. Their offense will get going. I firmly believe their offense will get going later on this season once everybody's back. Once Godwin's really back, that will make their offense even more explosive and definitely much more harder to defend once Godwin comes back. But there's definitely a lot of things about the Bucks offense to really like about that should really blow the water out of the Chiefs, but it's not going to be the Super Bowl 55 of 2021, the 2021 season. It won't be a blowout like that. It will be a closer game. But the defense will put a lot of pressure on Mahomes. Mahomes won't be able to. I don't personally believe that Mahomes will do like the Mahomes magic that he normally does. So that's why I take the Bucks to win this game. And that's why I would say take them as the plus 1.5. So moving on. All right, so the final game for week 4. We've got the Los Angeles Rams, who are traveling to their division foe and a team that they have struggled with enormously for the last few years. Kyle Shanahan's San Francisco 49ers on Monday Night Football. Make this short, sweet, and to the point. Both teams, very well coached. Sean McVay for the Rams, excellent coach. Top 3 material. Kyle Shanahan, coach of the San Francisco 49ers, ever since he's been there, has had a winning record with Garoppolo as the starting quarterback. And has had a great defensive line, great pass rush, great run defense. It's hard to run on this defense. And he's definitely top 3, top 2 material. He might be slightly above Sean McVay. I don't know. You can make a legitimate argument that McVay over Shanahan or Shanahan over McVay. You can definitely make a legitimate argument for that. But I'll just put this out there right now. The Rams concern me. The Rams absolutely, positively concern me for a lot of reasons. Matthew Stafford and his streakiness, their defense struggling with getting a pass rush in, and there was another thing too. Oh, and the offensive line. I have greater concern about the offensive line. Without Andrew Whitworth, after he retired, after that Super Bowl win, this offensive line of the Rams has not been anywhere good. And the 49ers can take advantage of that. 100%. The 49ers can definitely take advantage of that. Now, as far as Jimmy G goes, if you can plan around Jimmy G, and Kyle Shanahan does an excellent job coaching against McVay because he understands McVay's offensive schemes. He understands how he runs the offense, and he knows exactly what he needs to do to shut them down. We've seen this many times before. So it shouldn't really be a shocker for when, this game comes on Monday night, and if Shanahan really shuts down the offense and their struggles right now. Because outside of the Rams offense in terms of Cooper Kupp, who else do they really have? They don't have OBJ right now as a deep threat. They don't have him right now. Allen Robinson, where have you been? Cam Akers, stop fumbling the ball. Darrell Henderson, you get snaps here and there, but you get out-touched by Cam Akers. Where is this Rams team? Are they still having the Super Bowl hangover? Or, what's the story? What's the story with this Rams team? There's a lot of questions about this team that I don't quite understand yet. I don't really quite get this team right now. And it makes it very hard for me to pick the Rams, especially being on the road and playing in San Francisco, where we know they have struggled enormously in years past. Now, as far as Jimmy G goes, Shanahan can definitely coach Jimmy G to play in an offense where he manages the clock. And we saw that last year when he played against the Rams the very first time in San Fran. He managed the clock very well, working to Jimmy G's strengths. He worked around Jimmy G's strengths quite well. And that's how they beat the Rams, is taking up as much time as possible and defense playing lights out. Playing in that coverage defense and not getting Stafford to make big plays that he was making last year, throwing the ball down the field every time. So that's how I'm looking on that game. So with that all being said, Monday Night Football, it's a division game for the West and the NFC. I'm taking the 49ers to win this game. I'm taking the 49ers to win this game. This could potentially be the best game of the week in terms of coaching, not so much as far as players go, but it's definitely going to be mostly coaching. That it's the best coaching matchup of the week. That I believe whoever the best coach is for this team wins this game, and not so much focused on the players. So I'm taking the Niners. I'm taking my man Kyle Shanahan. I'm taking Jimmy G. I'm taking this 49ers defense to win. And as far as the spread goes, 1.5, do I want to say they cover? That's something I'm going to let you decide on. I'll let you decide whether or not you think the Niners are going to cover the 1.5. They should cover. I think they definitely could. But I'm going to let you decide on that one. But I probably would focus more on the over-under in this game. And with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the conclusion of my Week 4 picks for the NFL 2022-23 season for Week 4. So let me know in the comments down below, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming on here tonight. I know I've been on for a while. I've been on for a little over an hour and a half, but it's definitely been shorter than it was the last time. But I appreciate all the support and on all the things that you guys have been doing for me since starting my YouTube channel. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for listening so closely. I really hope you are really enjoying all the content. I try to make it as entertaining. I try to make it as engaging and for me to really discuss about as best as I possibly can and go in depth about teams and games as best as I can. But I hope you guys are really enjoying everything I've been providing to you. But in case if I'm not, drop a like on this video if you did like it. Let me know if you guys like this video. Let me know if there's any more material that you would like me to do throughout the week. I like doing these nightly live stream videos. I like doing the recap videos and weekly picks that I want to continue doing. But if you guys have any other suggestions for me, just like this video and comment down below. I want to hear from you guys. I want to be able to know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. I want to help you guys get the best material out there as best as possible. And I want to be like that best person for you that you guys can rely on any given Sunday for a football fanatic. So, drop a like on this video if you liked it. And also drop a comment down below if you liked it as well. Also that's going to help me come a long way as well. Hit that subscribe button on this YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell on whenever I'm making a new video. I want to be able to hear you guys come on in and be able to watch all these videos and be able to really take something out of these videos and maybe you could be a part of this team too to make my videos even better, to make this channel better, make it a spark, make it something. I don't know, what else do you want me to say right now? I mean, subscribe, like, comment down below, let me know what you guys like about these videos here. And the more that I get feedback from you guys and the more subscribers I get, the more views, the more likes, the more comments I get, the better and better that this YouTube channel is going to be. So with all that being said, this is Mr. James saying peace out, everybody. I thank you guys once again for watching, staying in tune with me throughout the whole hour, 45 minutes of this YouTube live stream video. And I will see you all next time for another video of my Week 4 weekly recap and reaction videos. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in, and we will see you all next time. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.